بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this lesson, we are going to understand a very important concept in Arabic grammar: how sentence structure can change, and how that change affects meaning. Sometimes the words in a sentence do not come in the usual order. When that happens, it is not random. It is done for a purpose. So in this lesson, we will learn how to recognize these structures, understand them clearly, and see how they are used in the Quran. We already know that every sentence has a natural order, where one part comes first and is followed by other parts. In a Jumla Ismiya, the normal structure is Mubtada, then Khabar, and then Mutalik bil Khabar, which we call MBK. The Mubtada is the subject, the Khabar gives information about it, and the MBK adds something connected to the Khabar, such as place or condition. For example, your prayer is relief for them. Salatuka sakanun lahum. Here, Salatuka is the Mubtada, Sakanun is the Khabar, and Lahum is the MBK. So this follows the normal structure: Mubtada, then Khabar, then MBK. This is what we call a normal Jumla Ismiya. Now let us look at what happens when this order changes. When the components of a sentence are rearranged, some parts are brought forward and others are delayed. The part that is brought forward is called Muqaddam, and the part that is delayed is called Mu'akhkar. This creates what we call an abnormal structure, but it is done for a reason, usually to give emphasis. Look at this example. In their hearts is a disease. Fi qulubihim maradun. Here, for qulubihim is the MBK, but instead of coming at the end, it has been brought forward, so it becomes muta'alliq bil khabar. In short, MBK muqaddam. Then maradun, which is the mubtada, comes later, so it is mubtada mu'akhar. The khabar here is understood or hidden, which we call khabar mahzuf. So the structure becomes MBK muqaddam, then mubtada mu'akhar, with the khabar implied. This creates emphasis, as if we are saying, it is surely in their hearts that there is disease. So remember this clearly. When the order is normal, it is simply giving information. But when the order changes, it is usually to give emphasis or highlight something important. Now we come to point number 3, special meanings. In some sentence structures, when takdim and takhir are applied, the sentence gains a special meaning. One of the most important of these special meanings is the meaning of only or alone, or none but, or exclusivity. In other words, by changing the normal order of the sentence, Arabic can show that something belongs especially, specifically, or exclusively to one side. Let us now look at the examples one by one. The first example is wa ilallahil masir, and to Allah alone is the final place of return. Here the structure is MBK muqaddam with khabar mahzuf, followed by a mubtada muakhar proper. The important point is that the MBK has come first. Because it comes first, the sentence gives the meaning of exclusivity. So the meaning is not just the final return is to Allah, but rather to Allah alone is the final return. This example shows exclusivity because the MBK is muqaddam, meaning it has been brought forward and it is followed by a proper mubtada. Now let us move to the second example, lahu mulku samawati wal ard, for him alone is ownership of the skies and the earth. Again, this is a case of MBK muqaddam, followed by mubtada muakhar proper. Let us now read the breakdown in the table carefully. First, lahu is made up of li, which is a half jar, and hu, which is an attached pronoun functioning as an ism majroor. Then comes mulku, which is light, without al, and is functioning as mudaf and is in rafa. After that comes a samawat, which is in jar because it comes after a mudaf, so it is mudaf ilayhi. Then we have waw, which is a harful ataf. After that comes al-ardi, which is also in jar because it follows the harf ataf and is ma'tuf ala as-samawati. Now the explanation under the table is very important. In this example, the mubtada is a chain, so all the words after lahu are included in the mubtada bucket. In other words, after the mbk muqaddam, what follows is not a single simple mubtada word only, but a linked structure forming the delayed mubtada. Again, because the mbk comes first, the sentence gives the sense of exclusivity. For him alone is the dominion of the skies and the earth. Now let us come to the third example. Laysa laha min dunillahi kashifa. None besides Allah at all can avert it. This is from Surah An-Najm, verse 58. Here we need to read the breakdown carefully from the table. First, Laysa is labeled as fil naqis, then laha is mbk muqaddam 1. Then min dunillah is mbk muqaddam 2. Finally, kashifatun is the mubtada muakhar. Now the explanation below this table is extremely important. This example shows exclusivity in meaning because we have two mbks before a mubtada that is muakhar and common. So the exclusivity becomes even stronger. The sentence laysa laha min dunillah kashifatun is considered a jumlatul ismiya, that is, a nominal sentence, because it begins with the verb laysa. In Arabic grammar, laysa is considered to be from the family of akana and its sisters, and sentences beginning with these verbs are classified as nominal sentences. So let us now gather the lesson of all three examples together. When takdim and takhir are used, the sentence may gain a special meaning, especially the meaning of only, alone, or exclusivity. In these examples, the mbk has been brought forward, and that forward placement is what gives the strong focused meaning. So the word order is not random. It is chosen to create emphasis and exclusivity. This is why we must not only identify the parts of the sentence, but also ask, why has this part been brought forward, and what extra meaning is being created by that change? Now we come to point number 4, tawqeed. We learned earlier that takdim and takhir can create special meanings. It can give a sense of importance, draw attention to something, show special interest, and it can also create tawqeed, meaning emphasis. Let us look at the example. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. And Allah is completely capable over every single thing. Now look carefully at the structure given under it. First, we have waw, which is harful ataf. Then comes Allah, which is the mubtada. After that comes ala kulli shay'in, which is the mbk muqaddam. Then finally comes qadirun, which is the khabar mu'akkar. So yes, there is rearrangement here, but the note below is very important. Although there is rearrangement of the parts of jumla ismiya, you do not get exclusivity in the meaning, not especially or completely. In other words, not every rearrangement gives the meaning of only or alone. Sometimes the rearrangement simply gives emphasis, importance, or strong attention without giving full exclusivity. Now we move to the next important question. Is it a fragment or a sentence? This is a very important area because students can easily get confused here. As we have been studying, mubtada is usually proper and khabar is usually common. But we also learned that mubtada can sometimes be common. Now when we see a common ism acting as the mubtada and with it a jar mazroor fragment in a jumla ismiya, that can create some confusion. Why does that confusion happen? Because of another rule we already know. when a nakira ism is followed by a jar mazroor fragment, that jar mazroor can become its sifa. So then the question becomes, when should we treat a nakira ism plus jar mazroor as a full sentence, and when should we treat it as only a fragment? Now let us look at the first example. Darsun min al-ustadh, a lesson from the teacher. Now we must read this very carefully. Here, Darsun is a nakira ism. Then min al-ustadh is a jar majroor fragment. The explanation in the box says that the half jar plus ism majroor is functioning as the sifa of the mawsuf, and it is fi mahali rafa. On the other side, the noun itself is an ism rafa, singular, masculine, common nakira ism. So when these two are combined, the jar mazroor fragment is describing the nakira ism. That is why the large conclusion in the slide says fragment, not jumla. This point is extremely important. The jar mazroor fragment as a whole is describing the nakira ism, so it ends up becoming a mawsuf sifa fragment. Therefore, it is not a full sentence. It is only a phrase or fragment. The jar mazroor fragment, when it comes as a sifa, follows its mawsuf only in status, meaning in i'rab. So the final conclusion is this. Darsun min al-ustadh, a lesson from the teacher, is not a complete sentence. So let us gather the lesson carefully. Not every common noun followed by a jar mazroor should be treated as a sentence. Sometimes it is only a descriptive fragment. The key question is the jar mazroor giving information as khabar, or is it merely describing the noun as sifa? If it is describing the noun, then it is a fragment. If it is giving information, then it may be a sentence. Now let us continue very carefully with the second example. The example is ad-darsu min al-ustadh. The lesson is from the teacher. Here we must notice an important difference from the previous example. In this sentence, ad-darsu is not an indefinite common noun anymore. It is proper in the sense of being definite, because it has al. So here, ad-darsu is functioning as the mubtada, and min al-ustadh is a half jar, plus ism majroor, functioning as mbk. That is why the diagram says half jar plus ism majroor equals mbk, and ism in rafa status and proper equals mubtada. So this is a full jumla ismiya. The explanation below confirms this. The above is a sentence because the mubtada is proper, followed by a jar mazroor fragment functioning as mbk, and this is a normal jumla ismiya. So here, we do not take the jar mazroor as sifa. We take it as part of the sentence, connected to the khabar side. Now let us move to the third example. Min al-ustadhi darsun. A lesson is from the teacher, or more naturally, from the teacher is a lesson. Here the order has changed. The jar mazroor fragment has come first, so it is now mbk muqaddam. Then after it comes darsun, which is an ism in rafa status and common, so it is the mubtada muakkar. That is why the diagram says half jar plus ism majroor equals mbk muqaddam, and ism in rafa status and common equals mubtada muakkar. The slide then states that this is also a jumla ismiya. The explanation below is very important. A common mubtada will come after an mbk muqaddam, and this will be a normal jumla ismiya. So this is a complete nominal sentence. The subject or mubtada is darsun, and the predicate or the khabar side is min al-ustadh. So compare the two carefully. In the first example on the previous page, the nakira came first and the jar mazroor after it, so the jar mazroor became sifa and the whole thing became a fragment. But here, when the jar mazroor comes first and the common noun comes after it, then it becomes a proper sentence, a jumla ismiya. Now we come to point number 5, emphasis. The slide tells us that there are different tools in the Arabic language used for emphasizing meanings. One of those tools is the harful nasab, inna and its sisters, But it is very important to understand that this does not automatically mean exclusivity. It gives emphasis, not necessarily the meaning of only or alone. Look carefully at the example shown in the boxes. Inna Allaha sami'un alimun. In this structure, Inna and Allah together are taken under the box labeled ism Inna, and the slide notes this as corresponding to the mubtada side. Then Sami'un is labeled Kabru Inna 1 and Alimun is labeled Kabru Inna 2. So the whole sentence is still classified as Jumla Ismiya. The red box at the bottom reminds us of that clearly. So the lesson here is that Arabic has tools to strengthen and emphasize meaning. And one of those tools is Inna. But we must not confuse emphasis with exclusivity. A sentence may be emphasized without giving the meaning that something belongs only to one side. So let us now gather the lesson of this page carefully. Ad-darsu min al-ustadi is a sentence because the definite mubtada is followed by a jar mazroor fragment, functioning as MBK. Min al-ustadi darsun is also a sentence because the MBK has come first and the common mubtada has come later, making it a jumla ismiya with MBK muqaddam and mubtada muakkar. Then, in the final section, we learned that emphasis can also be created by tools like inna, and that this kind of emphasis does not necessarily create exclusivity. So, in all these examples, we must pay very close attention, not only to the words themselves, but to their order, their role, and the meaning produced by that arrangement. Alhamdulillah, this brings us to the end of this lesson. If you found this video useful, we warmly encourage you to join our online complete self-study course at Al-Qur'an Institute, designed for you to learn at your own time and space, where you will receive unlimited access to our PDF materials, multiple choice questions with answers, exams, and a certificate of completion. You can enroll through our website www.alquraninstitute.net or contact support directly from the website. If you benefited from this video, please like and share, subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon to receive all future lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your Quranic Arabic journey easy, fill your heart with clarity and love for His words, and reward you abundantly in this world and the hereafter.